dear. I forgot. It immediately starts when you start it this way. Hello, everybody who isn't here because nobody expected me to stream tonight, which is fair enough. I also wasn't really expecting it either. But, okay, first thing first. It is 80 degrees here in November. So I had to pull my box fan back out and turn it back on. So if you can't stand the noise of that, I'm sorry. Without it, I'm going to die. If that bothers you, this is not the stream for you. Secondly, hi, I'm Rachel. Welcome to my book club. Vampires are my special interest book club. Typically, I stream on Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but occasionally I've been trying to push myself to stream like twice a week. It's been a while. Didn't expect it for it to be this long between like midweek streams, but here we are. And I just wanted to be bummed about the election in the United States. Somewhere with people who are possibly also bummed, and just sorta hang out for a little while. Bummed and choosing to indulge in a favorite pastime, which is vampire stories. Let me make sure everything I have to minimize stuff so I don't get too distracted by my own face. Making sure things are good. Okay, so tonight, yes, over the last, we did a stream like this before last year for Thanksgiving, where I went through my Kindle and I looked for books that are have vampires involved in any way, and then we read the first chapter of them, and I wanted to do that again. I've acquired quite a few because I know where to look for free Kindle books. And that is the end of the expectation tonight. I'm gonna read the first chapter of a whole bunch of probably independently published, possibly self-published, possibly not, I'm not sure, first chapters of books, and chill out for like, I don't know, 2 hours? Probably not more than that. We'll either hit 2 hours or we will run out of first chapters. Whatever happens first. Okay. Cool. I don't know if Kindle will show you the cover. Wow. There's a playlist in this one. Courtyards of the Lost by Brigette Delery, and I'm realizing this setup doesn't work for me normally. I'm reading from a book, so I don't really need to see the screen, but I need to see the screen, so let's see with this, put this above this, so I can see chat, and hopefully if there's a problem, my computer will scream at me. Okay, first chapter. Brigette Delery, Courtyard of the Lost. I opened it before I got to... Hold on. I'm not sure how the PC app works. I would like to read the synopsis of the book easily. Go to cover, go to. Wow, I am bad at this. Didn't want to do that. All right. Oh. Okay, things do look fine. It's bigger than I expected. It got bigger. Doesn't need to take up that much space on my screen. And we are gonna open the synopsis on Amazon. Sorry about being ill-prepared. Courtyard of the Lost by Brigette. Delery. Okay. Love was never an option in the deadly, sparkling world of supernatural New Orleans. Now it might be the only thing that saves them all. Darbon Hero. I'm so sorry for not knowing how to say that. I am not French in any way. Never intended to fall for a mortal. Perfectly content to ride out the oncoming end of vampires in brooding location, he wants nothing to do with love or with the responsibilities his small New Orleans clan keeps trying to thrust upon him. Then he meets Amy Trosclair, awkward, flighty, and oh so human. She could be the one destined to thaw Darbon's reluctant heart. Unfortunately, she might also be destined to destroy the entire supernatural world, and him along with it. Author note: this novel is the first volume of the ongoing serial story Courtyards of the Lost on Kindle. This volume includes the events depicted in episodes 1 through 37. It has been updated and edited for ebook publication. Courtyards of the Lost is an emotional roller coaster of a romance/saga with multiple POV, angst, slow burn heat, romantic tension, and an assortment of hot mess vampires who make really bad decisions but find their way to love despite it all. Because this story is ongoing, there is a cliffhanger ending and many threads are left open. Check content warning and trigger warnings before reading. All right, cool. Thanks for letting me know. Let's see. Let's go back into this. All right. To all the boys I've kissed in cemeteries and all the ones I wish I had. Cute. Content warnings. Courtyards of the Lost include topics that may be difficult for some readers. This volume contains sex, violence, trauma, substance use, abuse, discussion of self-harm and suicide, coercion, situations of non-consent or dubious consent, and adult language, and blood. Obviously, it's about vampires after all. All right. And there's a playlist, which is very fun. It's pretty long, too. Dang. Chapter 1. Unexpected Encounters. Darbon Hero did not miss the sun. Sometimes he thought he should. Wasn't that an expected thing? It seemed a requirement of this half-formed existence, paired irrevocably with the fangs, with the blood, with immortality. The fact that he did not know how to feel about the sun, or whether he should feel anything at all about it, bothered him. But the night had always felt like home, and the sun was simply one more inconsequential thing left behind long ago. Darbon tapped his fingers, encased in light leather gloves, against the hardcover of the book in his coat pocket. Far above, a stray breeze sent droplets sprinkling from mist-shrouded branches onto the darkened road. Flickering streetlights set the shadows at his feet dancing. I should find a place to sit, to read. It's why I came out alone tonight, after all. Not to contemplate the things I do not miss. His mind attempted to catalog those things regardless, putting pieces of a life that never existed into lists and columns, a mental accounting of what he could never have. Casual friendships, spontaneous affection, freedom from the chains of expectation, a story, a life that still has all its pieces, beginning, middle, and end. Darbon's internal recitation stuttered to a halt as he turned a corner and nearly tripped over someone crouched at the end of the road. A woman with dark red hair pulled up into a messy ponytail stared intently into a debris-clogged storm drain, her tiered white skirt dragging in the mud. She nibbled at her lip, considering some problem before her, every bit of attention focused on that metal catch basin. Not 3 feet from him, yet she remained oblivious to his presence. Who? Why? What on earth is she doing? Darbon knew these streets, knew their rhythms, their patterns. He knew every sidewalk brick pushed up by oak roots over centuries, every crack in the asphalt, every familiar vehicle parked along the curb night after night. He knew, without a doubt, that there should not be a strange young woman crouching in the muddy street, on a random Tuesday evening after heavy thunderstorms had turned everything into a soggy mess. Darbon hesitated, caught between the soft glow of a street lamp and the girl in the gutter. For a moment he considered taking a different route, but this was his regular walk, the path he took every night through neighborhoods he knew all too well. I shouldn't have to slink away at the sight of a mere mortal, as though they frighten me, as though I have forgotten how to pretend what it is to be human. He slid into the shadows cast by He slid into the shadows cast by thick tree limbs and iron balconied homes, shifting into a temporary state of near insubstantiality that might appear to others as something between memory and fog. Darbon pulled the shadows around himself and waited, his curiosity warring with a deep, abiding need to remain undetected. Besides, this little drama intrigues me. It's not as though I have anywhere else to be. He's putting a lot of thought into just a random woman just standing there awkwardly. Waves of dark auburn slipped free from the woman's ponytail to obscure her face as she took a deep, fortifying breath and worked her hands into the leaf-clogged drain. The street lamp above her sent stripes of golden illumination across her soft curves, and a nearby tree, a single lonely, mocking bird called out a hopeful refrain. Despite the demands of his existence, Darbon recognized certain things about his own nature. He might not precisely miss the things of mortal life, but he found some satisfaction in knowing that others experienced things he never could. A light gust of wind scattered brown-edged magnolia petals across the ground and sent more droplets cascading from the canopy above. On the other side of a nearby park, a truck with its windows down rumbled past, the heavy beat of bass from its stereo echoing in the otherwise quiet night. Darbon scanned the shadows to ensure no other mortals lingered nearby. The woman did not look up from her task. Her inattention irritated him. It's dangerous to be so unaware, so oblivious. Predators roam these streets. Predators like me. That particular thought only increased his irritation. Slipping a hand into his pocket to ground himself, Darbon let his fingertips glance once more over the slim book resting there. I should move on, should finish my walk and find some quiet place to read. Why should some random mortal digging in a drain in the middle of the night be of any concern to me? Yet he did not leave. Darbon pulled his hand free, clenching it at his side. Another light breeze pushed the woman's hair aside, revealing a look of intense concentration and an absolute lack of awareness regarding anything about her. Darn it! I can't just abandon her here. There are too many questions. What could have brought her to this place? What has her so entranced? I must know how this ends. Maybe she dropped her car keys. This is a lot of thought for just finding a random stranger digging through the like the dirt. Like maybe she lost something. I don't know, homie. You're thinking too hard. Darbon released a slow, resigned breath. He never could resist the promise of a good story, and a life of endless monotony, of ceaseless waiting. Stories served as welcome distractions. They were far less messy than the ambiguity of a mortal existence. Stories made sense. They gave concrete answers to every question they posed, wrapped up lives in neat, comfortable packages with satisfying endings. No uncertainty, no messy expectations, no secrets that could never be revealed. Watching a captivating story play out could be almost as good as living one, particularly if living one had ceased to be an option centuries ago. If that's all of the stories you're reading, you're really missing out on a lot of good stories out there. Not everything has to be wrapped up by the end. And here, a tale playing out on the streets of my city. This woman, some strange player in a drama I alone might witness. It seemed almost serendipitous. That was, of course, why he chose to stay. There need be no other reason at all. As the woman bent forward over the drain, mist-muted street lamps lit her figure and set shallow puddles shimmering on the surrounding concrete. Darbon could see the curves of her breasts and the lace edges of her bra under the light blouse she wore. I didn't expect it to get, horny within the first chapter. My bad. Just to be clear, if it gets a little uncomfortably horny, I'm just going to skip to the next book. For the briefest moment, he wished to freeze time, to take in the sight of her at his leisure, to step out of the shadows and move closer. The woman scrunched up her nose in concentration, then huffed as she blew at the loose strands of hair fluttering across her face. "Come on," she murmured, burrowing her hands deeper into the debris-clogged grate. Her voice wavered as she continued speaking. "I've got this. 101% confident here. I can do this. I'll save you. I just have to..." A few houses away, the slam of a door caught Darbon's attention, and the woman's whispered litany ceased. A young boy ran up to sit on the muddy curb next to the drain. Perhaps 9 or 10, the child seemed familiar with the woman and eager to watch her at her task. "Did you get it out?" The boy leaned forward, trying to see her hands in action. "Not yet." The woman didn't spare him a glance. "Let me concentrate." Darbon cursed inwardly. The addition of a mortal child brought new concerns. Now I really should leave. To be spotted by a child would be a disaster. I cannot alter his memories, cannot make him forget, cannot turn his mind away from all the details he might notice. The prohibitions, the treaties, I'd be breaking them all, not to mention what the others might say should I be the cause of such careless discovery. After all these centuries, for me to expose us all, what irony that would be. Of course, discovery by mortals might not truly matter. The end of vampires was already at hand. Whether it be days, months, or centuries until everything came crashing down, the final act of their previously endless story had already been set in motion. The days of immortals were coming to an end, and like watching floodwaters rise, there was nothing to do but wait until the debris settled to discover what had been lost. Still, I should not take such risks, so why can't I tear myself away? What fascinates me about this mortal and her task? I'm having a lot of trouble not interjecting about how ridiculous this man is. Literally, dude, you see someone doing something kind of weird, you can go up and ask them if they need help, or you can keep going on your walk, but to just stand there and stare at her like, "I need to know the end of this story," is it's a bit dramatic, honestly. Has he, he said he's lived in the city for a long time. He's seen a lot of strange things happen in a city. Cities are full of strange things. If you need to stand there and stare at somebody doing something strange, learn to mind your own business? I don't even know what to say. What is this man? Please. Okay. This woman's profile glimmered in the muted light as she gently worked something small and damp from the edge of the storm drain. Shadows danced in her hair and along her curves, obscuring and revealing her by turns as the leaves shifted above. Finally, she twisted her arm and gave a light tug. Leaves and dirt fell onto her thick black boots in a messy clump. With a triumphant flourish, she pulled a limp, bedraggled kitten from the debris. Splotches of mud molted the creature's orange and white tabby stripes, and it lay silent and still in the woman's hands. The child let out a startled sob. For a moment, Darbon thought the cat must surely be dead. An unfortunate ending after such valiant efforts, but not a surprise. Death is the fate of all mortal things. I should leave this woman and child to their grief. But no grief haunted the woman's expression, only some solemn determination, a refusal to accept the truth before her eyes. Darbon idly contemplated how he might leave without risking detection, but his eyes remained glued to the scene still unfinished before him. The moment felt portentous, as though something extraordinary might be about to occur. The woman wiped the kitten's mouth with her thumb, pressed pressed to feel its chest where a heartbeat might be. What could have been tears, or perhaps merely droplets from the trees above, fell onto the still tiny thing, and she breathed an incantation, a demand, a plea so low even his enhanced hearing could not catch the words. Then her eyes widened as the kitten choked up a mass of fur and muck all over her hands. The tiny creature began mewling loudly and squirming in her grasp. "That was some hairball," she whispered, a slight tremble in her voice as she wiped the animal's face with the bottom of her mud-stained skirt. Her eyes darted to the boy, then quickly back to the much-alive kitten. "Here you go," she said, handing the bedraggled pet to its rightful owner and shaking out her hands as though she meant to dislodge the mud and grime collected there. Something furtive shone in her bright eyes. "Take her to a vet in the morning. She had a close call." In the morning? Take her to the vet in the morning. I think that kitten's gonna die in the next 20 seconds. The overjoyed child ran toward his home with the kitten clutched at his chest, uttering not a single word of thanks. Ungrateful urchin. Children in this time have an appalling lack of manners. Though I suppose skulking around in shadows isn't exactly the height of etiquette either. Speaking of which, I should leave. This tale is obviously done. A conclusion reached. Darban remained in the shadows, unmoving. Perhaps not quite yet. A strange man materializing out of apparent nothingness would likely terrify the woman. Far better that she wander off at her own pace. As soon as she moves on, I shall go. The woman stood and smoothed down the rumpled layers of her skirt. A slow, private smile lit up her face as she gazed in the direction the child had run. There was something altogether pure and joyous in her expression, and the unintended charm of it cut through the impassivity Darban normally kept wrapped around himself like a cloak. His own lips turned up ever so slightly in response. Strange that, to smile unexpectedly, not as a calculated thing, not as a weapon, as something genuine. Darban was not used to such smiles. The woman turned toward him, a slight furrow to her brows as she peered into the darkness. Darban's smile faltered. His calm certainty fractured as her eyes studied the spot where he stood. "Who?" she whispered. The thought that she might have seen him set every nerve ending firing at once. Darban's skin itched, burned, chilled to icy stillness. Hi, Medusa. We're getting to a very important part of the story where the man will actually say something instead of just standing there staring like a weirdo. Like a boring weirdo. She's fine. The thought that she might have seen him, right, yeah. But the woman's eyes still searched the darkness, unseeing and uncertain, as though she sensed something there, but had no trust in her own senses. See me. Ignore me. I do not exist. Nothing is here. Come closer. Run away. Darban had no idea what she might do, what he might wish for her to do. Rational thought shattered under her curious gaze as his typically calm manner splintered, and in the shattered pieces Darban recognized a fact more horrifying than a simple fear of discovery, more insidious than idle fascination at the idea of a mortal who could sense the unseen. He wanted this woman. Wanted to... No, too horny. No, too horny. Ew, gross, ew. Okay. The thought of her inevitable end squeezed his undying heart tight. Darban refused to acknowledge what that might mean. In the street, the woman shook her head, denying whatever she might have suspected. Finally satisfied with her solitude, she brushed a stray curl back behind her ear, then completely oblivious to anyone watching, or completely ignoring whatever hidden sense told her she was not alone, she closed her eyes, stretched out her arms under the dripping boughs of the oaks, and breathed in the fog. She is exquisite. There was nothing else like her in the world. Darbon was sure of it, though such certainty made no sense. She was mortal, fragile, untouchable. Dew in the moment before morning, snowflakes landing on a warm glove, desert flowers blooming for but a single day. Darbon clenched both hands into fists, ground his teeth together until his jaw ached. But he did not move from the shadows, and he did not alert her to his presence. When she eventually moved on, heading out of the shadowy residential neighborhoods to the lights of the city, Darbon abandoned every one of his plans for the night and followed. The story had not yet ended. It had barely begun, and he would be part of it, whatever the cost. All right. Cover. Courtyards of the Lost. My initial reaction to that is I think this story would deeply annoy me. I get the feeling this character would deeply annoy me. He just stood there silently and like mentally wrestled with himself and then got weirdly attached. That's a no for me. Okay. But if it's a yes for you, there's the title. Go check it out later. It's probably on Amazon. Moving on to... Let's do... Oh, to be clear, I kind of forgot about this. Kind of forgot to mention it. All of these are going to be romance because in June... I have to find what it's called. My friend usually sends me the link. She has done this twice, 2 years in a row. It's like a whole bunch of romance stories, and authors and their stories are all free for like 2 days or something. And it's like thousands. It's just thousands of links to free romance stories. So I really only tonight have romance to read. Sorry I didn't say that sooner. I'm sure that would make a lot of people not want to watch the rest of it. Fair enough. But yeah, that's largely what we're going to be looking at. Weird, uncomfortably heterosexual, but there is a sprinkle of LGBT. I did try to find some LGBT stories, so it's not all straight. It looks pretty damn white, though, which is my bad. Let's see. The only cover that seems to have a person of color on it is Manifested Rejection. Here we go. Fangs, Fur, and Fortune series, Manifested Rejection by Laura G. Elmore. I hate when it gets all big. Let's see. There we go. Okay. A mate rejected. A mate revealed. 4 manifestations to manage. As a member of the Ebon Ash clan ruling bloodline. Oh, another thing. If it looks like I got a bunch of bruises on my arm when I'm moving it around, I just dug this out of a closet to see if it was still good. It's just makeup. I forgot to wash it off. It lasts a surprisingly long amount of time. If you want to look fake bruised, maybe get some makeup by Mehron. Mehron. This one's old though. I shouldn't have put it on my skin. It's very expired. Anyway, Manifested Rejection. Deja 1. Fangs, Fur, and Fortune. A mate rejected. A mate revealed. 4 manifestations to manage. As a member of the Ebon Ash clan ruling bloodline, Deja Dusk is more than ready to receive her fangs and vampire manifestations from their goddess Nyx. Confident she will receive 1 or 2 manifestations, she's ready to end the night with her fated mate, Malik Knight. Shockingly, Deja receives all 4 manifestations. The rest of the night is a disaster, and Malik rejects their bond, leaving Deja exiled and brokenhearted. In a surprising twist, years later, another man enters Deja's life. With the pain of Malik's rejection still fresh in her mind, Deja is hesitant, but can't deny their connection. Ridley Donovan swears nothing should keep him from his mate, and the echoes of Deja's past threaten to consume her. Can Deja open her heart to fate's chosen love, or will the fear of rejection hold her back from an eternity of happiness? This title was previously published on Kindle Vella as Day and Night and featured in a limited anthology, Rejected by the Immortal. Manifested Rejection is the first title in a series of books that will end with Deja Dusk having several love interests and she won't choose between them. Oh, that's fun. I'm glad I grabbed a poly story. Cool. Okay. Again, if they get too horny, we are leaving. But if I can skip past the horny, we'll see. Manifested Rejection. We just read that. Part 1, Manifestation. Chapter 1. Oh, it's a cute little picture. You're such a tease, I say with a giggle as I pushed Malik away. Tomorrow, I won't be. After your ceremony, we can finally seal our mate bond. He didn't bother lifting his head as he peppered kisses and ran his fangs up the column of my throat. Fangs I didn't have yet, but I would. You know, they'll want us to have a different ceremony for that, I reminded him, and he groaned as he pulled me closer. Why should we have to put on a show for everyone? Wolves do that. We aren't Wolves Day. Don't I know it? Wolves are all growly and possessive. I haven't looked at chat in a while. I don't think anybody's here to chat with me, but you never know. Don't I know it? Wolves are all growly and possessive. Do you think they have knots, or is that not a real thing? I didn't like saying that sentence. I apologize. I hated it. I think they're just making out. I think it's fine. Malik Knight, my fated mate, pushed me down on the midnight blue comforter on my queen-sized bed, and I still lived with my parents and would until he and I sealed our mate bond, but they knew who we were to each other and pretended they couldn't hear what we were up to. The soundproofing my dad added helped with that. Malik's parents were less accepting even if we were well over age by human standards. Promise me you're not thinking about gross. No. I'm out. Never mind. If that's your thing, that's cool. It's not mine. I'm so uncomfortable. No. I should have known. They were already making out when it started. Jesus. I'm embarrassed. I don't want to. I have no interest in reading sexy stuff to complete strangers. No interest. No, thank you. If you think maybe that book sounds chill for you, go ahead and check out Manifested Rejection. That's as far as I go. I'm good. We're gonna switch to one. I think this one's for like young adults. Jesus Christ. Oops. Okay. Ravenhold Academy. LJ Swallow. Why is your last name Swallow? I don't like that. Okay. From book 1. Last week, I accidentally and publicly raised the dead. Now I'm the only necromancer at Ravenhold Reform Academy. Ravenhold detains dangerous juvenile offenders on a remote Scottish island where their magic is useless and escape impossible. I'm told I'll leave after rehabilitation, but nobody will tell me how or when. Dorian Blackwood rules over the vampires, shifters, and witches in the Academy's halls. As the only vampire-witch hybrid in existence, he has unparalleled supernatural abilities, and few people dare confront the cruel and charming savage. But the Academy's two other powerful hybrids want him deposed. Zeke, the dominant shifter whose laid-back manner hides a vicious streak, and the silent and secretive Ethan who nobody dares touch. As the new hybrid at the Academy, I'm dragged straight into the middle of their power struggle. Even though I'm drawn to the three guys, I want to keep away from Academy violence and politics. I make a plan to keep my head down, attend the classes, and hope for an early release. I don't want anybody to discover my secret. I'm the Trinity Witch. But something sinister runs through the Academy underbelly as students go insane or disappear without a trace. When I'm made a sickening offer, I discover exactly how sinister. To survive Ravenhold's corruption, I'll need to make a deal with three guys who can choose to either help me or kill me. Witchborn is the first book in the Ravenhold Academy series from USA Today bestselling author L.J. Swallow. The books are set in a supernatural reform academy with deliciously dangerous guys and a badass heroine who won't bow to anyone. Ravenhold is a slow burn, enemies to lovers, dark academy, why choose, romance series. The books are set in the same world as Night World Academy, but contain spicier scenes as the series progresses. Please note, this book is written in British English and includes spelling and grammar styles that may look incorrect to some readers. Okay, spicier. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Good God. Okay. I have to move this again. Chapter 1. Parents frighten their kids into submission with stories about Ravenhold. Rumors and folk tales fill the supernatural world. Ravenhold, a castle on a distant Scottish island surrounded by an impassable sea and ruled over by the half-human, half-beast mids. Good kids go to Night World Academies. Bad kids go to Ravenhold Supernatural Reform Academy. The worst stories claim the juvenile offenders are subject to trials where they fight to the death or are pulled apart and tortured by mids. I have a friend, one of few, who told me a family friend returned from Ravenhold and that half the stories are bullcrap. Only half. The ruling Confederacy authorities want the supernatural world to believe there's no coming back from the island. They encourage the stories but keep the truth a secret. But the question remains, are students reformed or are they too dangerous to release? I just had an ADD thought. I put a burrito in the microwave before I started stream and it's still in the microwave. Somebody remind me at the end of this first chapter to get it out and mute so I can eat a burrito. Okay. The ruling Confederacy authorities want the supernatural world to believe there's no coming back from the island. They encourage the stories but keep the truth a secret. But the question remains, are students reformed or are they too dangerous to release? I'm about to discover if the rumors are true. As the island comes into view, so does Ravenhold Reform Academy. The gray building juts from the rocks in the center and matches the gothic reputation the place has. Several turrets push into the stormy sky the building silhouettes against. Everything is gray and lost in the bleak surroundings. Seasickness threatens as the boat bounces across the North Sea, but my stomach already churns with anxiety. I moisten my dry lips and my stomach twists into knots at the reality facing me. Thank God we're not talking about any other kind of knot right now. Anyway, I hoped this wouldn't happen, that my family would intervene before things reached this stage. Wrong. The speedboat carrying me to my unknown future hits the rocky beach, and the silent, muscular guy who brought me here climbs out to moor the boat. I screwed that up. Let me try again. The speedboat carrying me to my unknown future hits the rocky beach, and the silent, muscular guy who brought me here climbs out to moor the boat. Gruffly, he tells me to get out and tugs my arm when I'm too slow. I catch my long, dark hair as the wind whips it across my face and push the strands away before they blind me. A hulking figure in dark clothes steps from the shadows and looms over me. He has squashed features, his flat nose almost non-existent, Scales shine in places on his arms, but don't completely cover the skin. My heart leaps with fear as one rumor is proved true. This is a mid, a shifter stuck between his two forms and unable to transform back to human. They're ostracized by their race, too dangerous and too conspicuous. Mids stay in this form for life and remain hidden. Perfect for guarding magical juvenile delinquents. Eloise, come with me, he commands in a booming voice. Leaving the man and boat, I slog my way up the sandy path behind the mid, squinting through the dark as the burning torches skewered into the ground barely light the way. I expected the Scottish island to be cold, but not this severe. The wind burns my skin raw, and my hands are frozen to the point I can't feel the rucksack I grip onto. The mid guy doesn't address me again until we're close to the academy building. You're a witch, but you're different. His gravelly voice states a fact without questioning the situation. I am. I thought you were a vamp at first, but I can hear your heartbeat. He lifts his head and wrinkles his half nose. Smell you. Gross. Some would take the vamp comment as a compliment since the race is known for their rare beauty and flawlessness, but I hate them. The mid appraises me, and his tongue slides across his bottom lip like a slug. I don't remember why I included this. I think the discussion said the information said something about vampires. And we have already mentioned vampires. Maybe it was just like a vampire just somewhere in here, so we're going to include it as a reading. Whatever. The mid appraises me, and his tongue slides across his bottom lip like a slug. My long dark hair and delicate features likely made him think I'm a vampire, along with my height and slenderness. I'm wearing skinny jeans and 2 jumpers beneath a thick jacket in an attempt to keep warm, but they're not working. Probably because you're wearing skinny jeans. You be careful, looking like you do. You'll attract attention. Guys like a good-looking girl. I tense. If anybody touches me, I'll tear his wiener off. A spell would be too kind. He laughs. He laughs. A rasping sound. The harmless-looking ones are always the most dangerous. I tip my chin. I've spent the last 2 years wishing I could tear a certain witch's wiener off to stop it ever coming near me. My unwanted fiancé, Ivan. We were rarely alone unsupervised, but in snatched moments, he'd grab me and whisper perverse things in my ear. Once he held me down and tried holy crap. At that point, he realized he was playing with fire, literally, because I conjured a flame that was close to singeing his pathetic appendage long before he assaulted me. Jesus. I earned a black eye for that. He was too quick for me to block the shocking blow. My family and his never commented on my screaming and the injury. But my family never gave a crap about anything but their success in creating me. I spent my childhood dragged around the covens, forced to perform every school of magic. Look at Eloise, the clever elemental witch who can control minds too. I have a rare ability to wield both elemental magic and spirit magic, but I have a third skill that's rarer still, one that's landed me with an unknown future in a living hell. That was kind of short. Should I give it another chapter? I don't know. I was kind of blindsided from my ex-boyfriend tried to rape me once. At least we're not going to get uncomfortable sexy times. We'll give it another chapter. That was pretty short. Okay, chapter 2. The walk to the building continues in silence, and I'm out of breath when we reach the crest of the hill. The sea batters the rocks below, a constant reminder to all inmates about the power the water holds. Water repulses vamps. They could never cross the sea if they attempted to leave the islands. The long swim to the Scottish mainland in ice waters would cause hypothermia and death for most others. If the stronger elemental witches bonded together, they could probably create a bridge of ice to cut a path through the sea. Unfortunately for them, that's impossible because Ravenhold neutralizes their magic. This means the shifters have no chance either, even those with aquatic forms. Powerful magic surrounds the small island, and nobody can set foot on or leave without permission, or until rehabilitated. I'm resigned to my fate. But why hasn't anybody given me a time scale for rehabilitation or how I'm judged as safe to release? Is anybody? The stone walls hold the irredeemable inside. These students were unable to control the destructive or violent behavior that places them here, or didn't care if they did. I swallow down my nerves as I stare at the open doors to the building. I can't discount the rumors. Will I leave here or die at Ravenhold? Two other mids stand on either side of the doorway at the top of the stone stairs and watch with a bored air as the basilisk mid leads me inside. The checkered black and white tiled floor is fractured, and the painted walls are cracked in places, revealing gray stone beneath, as if the island is trying to consume the building that's a scar on its back. A chandelier hangs above me at an unusual angle, half connected to the ceiling, and the teardrop glass is jagged but missing in places. I sidestep in case the thing lands on my head. A squat man sits at a table tucked beneath the large staircase. More security? To my right, stairs lead upwards, and an ornate stair rail, also covered in chipped white paint, leads to a small balcony where people could slip through the gaps in the balustrade. Ahead, there are two closed doors opposite the entrance. The dread that's followed me from London to Edinburgh, and then in a blacked-out van further north and onto the boat, threatens to freeze me in place, but I push on. How many people here have killed? And do deaths occur inside the walls? The constant questions about death turn over and over with every step I take. Ironic, as death is what brought me here. Once I'm shown my room, I can drop my facade and allow out the terrified girl I am. I need to belong where I never will. A tall man dressed in black jeans and a loose blue shirt leans against the wall and watches me walk in. A chain hangs from his belt and into a bulging pocket. Keys. His brown hair is close cropped and he's young looking, but his features scream vamp. He sizes me up. Head cocked, and the scrutiny sends a shiver through. He isn't checking me out. He's sizing me up for danger. Pulling himself from the wall, the man takes a step towards me. I'm Luca, and a yell interrupts him, and I spin around. A guy launches himself from the rails at the top of the stairs and lands on his feet with feline effortlessness, one palm on the floor in front of him as he looks up. A second man charges down the stairs, two at a time. Get back here, he snarls. The guy who jumped pulls himself upright into full height. He's dressed in scruffy blue jeans that hug his long legs and sit low on his hips. His black shirt is torn and hangs open. I take an appreciative look at the sculpted muscles on display, from his toned pecs down to the hard abs. This guy may be lean, but his body is powerful. He catches sight of me, and I stare back into eyes the color of the sea. The sky's beauty was created to break hearts or rip them out. The guy grazes his teeth across his bottom lip as he slowly rakes a gaze from my feet to my face, and I shiver as if he's touching me. He could mesmerize with a glance, but despite the perfection in his features, I don't sense a Lamia vampire. The guy's mouth pulls up at one corner as he senses my breathless reaction to him, one he's undoubtedly used to from girls. My breathlessness is from the walk up the hill, mostly. Get your arse back upstairs, now. The guard's heavy footsteps cross the floor, and I blink at the size of him. He must be 7 feet tall, at least, and his arms twice as thick as a normal man. I can barely see a neck beneath his small head and squashed face. If someone who looked like him yelled at me, I'd do what he said in a heartbeat, in case he stopped mine. The guy breaks away from our mutual appreciation and dodges the guard as he reaches him. He grins and ducks behind the guard, who spins around. The arrogant guy dances out of his way, his torn shirt slipping from one shoulder as he does. Stand still, snarls the guard. I'm enjoying the hoe behavior. I'm enjoying the hoe behavior. If you keep your filthy hands off me. The inmate's voice is cultured English, reminding me of my mother's friends who live in the home counties. There's an edge to the honeyed tone, as if he can charm you, then devour you in the blink of a mesmeric eye. He lifts a hand to push stray blonde hair from his face and takes another sly look at me. Don't touch him, Jurgen, says the voice behind. I'd forgotten there were others with us. Luca moves to stand by my side, and the guard who accompanied me from the boat moved to my other as if I have a protective detail. The guy in the torn shirt gestures at himself. Zeke ripped my freaking shirt. Do you know how much this cost me? You punched him in the face. The guy shrugs. He should have kept his mouth shut. You've been warned. Hurt anybody else and you're in solitary, warns Luca. The guy lifts his head and looks down his nose at Luca. I'm sure Zeke will retract his complaint against me. You know he always does. He moves closer to me and bites his lip again as he looks down. My empath skills are more potent than many witches, and I immediately pick up the danger and darkness that cloud this guy's aura. Now he's closer. My attraction to him fades. I can almost smell the evil. I shift away from him and he cocks his head, lips pursing. Does my reputation precede me? What? You're nervous. He leans in and whispers, Have you heard the stories? I splutter. I'm not nervous. I don't know or care who you are. Luca tugs me to one side and the arrogant guy's face lights up. He points at me. You'll be fun. I like fun. The half-human man grabs his arm. Get back to your room. If you ask nicely, says the guy snidely. Besides, I haven't introduced myself to Ravenhold's newest and most charming guest. Just get back to up the freaking stairs, Dorian, snaps Luca, before I lose my patience and you lose your privileges. The hallway I stand in lurches to one side and my stomach turns over as I stare at the guy I've dreamed about meeting. The one I want to hurt until he suffers the way my family did. Are you Dorian Blackwood? I ask hoarsely. He smiles, eyes glittering. The Dorian Blackwood. Welcome to Ravenhold. I do hope you enjoy your stay. Oh, okay. The ripped shirt evil one is Dorian Blackwood. Okay. That was that. She looks ridiculous. I'm going to walk away from the computer to get my burrito because I'm hungry. I'm gonna mute. I will be back though. I don't have a be right back screen. Okay. Food eaten quietly. Insulin taken. Moving on to the next book, which is Bitter End by Shauna Jared. Working for vampires sucks more than one could ever imagine. Facing a mountain of bills, courtesy of her ex-husband's failed business ventures and determined to provide for her daughter, single mom Cricket Jones's desperation leads her to accept a mysterious job offer from a hidden society of vampires. It might not be the job she expected, but at least she'd be able to pay her bills and send her daughter to college. Turns out her vampire lady boss has been seeking a way to escape a mortality curse and believes she holds the key, although Cricket has no clue how she could possibly help. Between a sassy octogenarian grandmother who recently moved in with her elderly boyfriend and is always getting involved in crazy shenanigans, and a 15-year-old daughter in desperate need of stability, how is Cricket supposed to figure out how to solve her boss's problems and keep her family in check too? The sexy biker next door, Zeb, and Cricket's longtime best friend Joey might be able to help her, if they weren't too busy, each harboring their own supernatural secrets, along with their romantic interest in her. Can Cricket navigate the complex web of attraction and make a choice between two extraordinary men who desire her, all while saving the lives of those she holds dear? If you're a fan of sassy female main characters, hilarious banter, and steamy love triangles, you won't want to miss this clever and original series. Scroll up to grab your copy of this entertaining and passionate paranormal women's fiction romance today. I am not necessarily a fan of sassy female main characters or hilarious banter, because the majority of people who try to write that are not good at it, but we'll see. We'll see when we might do so. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Back here. The way the story started, I fully expected her love interest to be her lady boss, so I'm disappointed actually that it's just two random dudes. I have to move it again. 1. I'm so screwed. Sighing heavily, I folded my arms on the worn wooden bar and dropped my head to rest on them. Joey, the bartender, poured another shot of vodka and nudged my elbow with it. I looked up, his understanding gaze meeting mine, and gave him a thankful smile as I downed the shot, the burn of the liquor momentarily dulling my embarrassment. The dimly lit bar hummed with chatter while the smell of fried foods and spilled beer lingered in the air. A cheer sounded from a group of people in the back, watching a televised game on the big screen in the corner of the bar. I held my glass out for a refill. There seemed to be a buzz in the air, making my head feel slightly fuzzy. Or maybe it was just me who was buzzed. Come on, Cricket. You hated that job anyway. It's a blessing in disguise. Joey poured another generous helping of vodka into the shot glass and passed it back to me. I felt the effects of the alcohol, but I was also still feeling the sting of losing my job, so I kept on drinking. The Rusty Nail in downtown Nashville had become my favorite. So much cover. The Rusty Nail in downtown Nashville had become my favorite after-work spot, and the bartender, Joey Morley, with his shaggy dark brown hair, deep brown eyes, and muscular build, was easy on the eyes. I checked him out now in my inebriated state as he wiped the bar down. His bulging biceps peeked out beneath the tight white t-shirt he wore. He was tempting, all right, but Joey had become one of my best friends. He knew all about my job, my teenage daughter who had recently gone goth and vegan, my grandma, Betty, who lived in the other side of the duplex I lived in, and Grandma's new boyfriend, Gus, who was 82 and still had all his equipment in working order, according to Grandma. Ew. It occurred to me just then that maybe Joey knew too much, but I'd think about that when I was sober. Right now, all I could think about was the fact that I was now unemployed and in need of another drink. You know what? You're absolutely right, Joey. I slammed the shot glass onto the bar. Screw the law firm of Abernathy, Smith, and Sanchez. They are exactly what their initials spell, especially Sanchez. I was growing louder in my denouncement of ass, my former employer, as of this afternoon. Seriously, had none of those obnoxious pricks stopped to think about their acronym? Through the smoky haze inside the bar, the other patrons looked my way with judgmental stares. Joey raised an eyebrow at me as he returned the nearly empty bottle of vodka to the shelf. Bless your heart. What happened, honey? I looked up to where the sweet southern accent was coming from. A woman, maybe in her mid-50s, was sitting at the end of the bar and apparently had heard my diatribe. She had shoulder-length, curly blonde hair teased with bangs, which looked like the 80s had called and wanted their hairstyle back. Blue eyeshadow and pale pink lipstick, paired with skin-tight black leather pants and a leopard print blouse, cut to reveal her ample bosom, finished her look. All she needed was a pair of jelly shoes to complete her 80s look. However, she seemed genuinely concerned about my plight, judging from her furrowed brows as she vaped Tutti Frutti, which was printed on the package she discarded. Joey moved down the bar to attend other customers, so that left me with Farrah Fawcett, who was now awaiting my response. Isn't Farrah Fawcett from the 70s? I mean, I don't think she's dead, so she's from every decade, but I think you're referencing the wrong decade. I'd been sitting here drinking for a while now. The vodka had loosened my lips and I needed to vent. At this point, I didn't care that I didn't know this woman from Adam, so I continued with my monologue of despair. I worked at that firm for 7 years and I was a model employee. Come here. They should have fired Sanchez for yelling at me. You're being a nuisance. You're being a nuisance. I forgot. The time's changed, so she thinks it's like almost 9, which is her prime screaming time for food, not almost 8. You're supposed to scream between 8 and 10, not 7 and infinity. The time is different, baby. Okay. They should have fired Sanchez for yelling at me, I said, finishing my most recent shot of vodka and swaying on my bar stool. Joey, can I get another shot over here, please? If he heard me, he didn't respond. Darn it, I need another drink. Okay, so maybe I hadn't been a model employee, but I didn't deserve to get fired. Sure, over the years I had liberated a few office supplies, been caught kissing the mailroom clerk in the copy room, and forgotten to bring chili on potluck days, so sue me. Pun intended. However, the results of yesterday's game between the Tennessee Titans and the Atlanta Falcons had left Sanchez in a mood. Everyone in the office knew to avoid Sanchez when the Falcons lost. Sanchez was a Tennessee transplant from Atlanta and a die-hard Falcons fan. I should say everyone in the office knew this except me. Not being a sports fan myself, I didn't understand the pain one experiences when one's team loses. And boy, had they lost. Tennessee had handed them their butts. Aren't the Falcons the team that lost the Super Bowl 28-3 that time? I said as I poured myself a cup of coffee while some coworkers talked about the game in the break room. Complete silence filled the room. Everyone turned to stare at me in horror. What? I asked, glancing down at my blouse, wondering if I'd missed a button while dressing this morning. Then I turned to look behind me, following the gazes of my coworkers. There stood Sanchez, seething. He fixed his murderous expression on me, and if looks could kill, well, I would have been pushing up daisies already. What did you say, Jones? Sanchez asked through gritted teeth. His knuckles had grown white, threatening to decimate the styrofoam cup of coffee he held. He moved toward me, and I instinctively took a step backwards, bumping into the vending machine at my back. I mean, they lost the Super Bowl, right? Wasn't that them, the Falcons? I said, still unaware of my error. I don't understand why that's... I also don't understand why that makes him so angry. Trying to collect myself, I smoothed my skirt after my near collision with the Coke machine. There was a collective gasp in the break room. Avery, the intern, covered her mouth and looked at me with wide eyes. Mike, the mailroom clerk I'd kissed in the copy room that time, almost imperceptibly shook his head at me. Peggy from accounting crossed herself and glanced away as I looked at her. The styrofoam cup in Sanchez's hand threatened to buckle under his grasp. What are you doing? Go away. You're making noises I can't cover up. We've already got audio issues. Get out of here. Avery, the intern, covered her mouth and looked at me, blah, blah, blah. Peggy from accounting crossed herself and glanced away when I looked at her. The styrofoam cup in Sanchez's hand threatened to buckle under his grasp, and a vein throbbed in his forehead. His black eyes were full of rage, and it was all directed at me now. In my office. Now, Jones, he spat. Sanchez tossed the cup into a nearby trash can on his way out of the break room, sending the remains of his coffee splattering everywhere. Did I say something wrong, I asked, turning to look at my coworkers in bewilderment. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know what she did wrong. Are they the team that lost the Super Bowl? Why is it so bad to ask that? Maybe she can sue them for, like, unlawful firing or something. What the fuck? After I finished telling her of my horrible day, Farrah Fawcett, whose name I had gathered was Doreen Jenkins, commiserated with my story. Somehow, she'd snagged the bottle of vodka from behind the counter while Joey was busy with other patrons. Doreen filled my shot glass once again and passed it to me. That Sanchez sounds like a real ass, she said, in a rather nasally, raspy voice while inhaling more vapors. I laughed. Ass. Abernathy, Smith, and Sanchez, and they can kiss mine. So what happened next, hun? Did he fire you? Doreen said, urging me on. It was getting late, the other patrons filing out the door in small groups here and there until finally Doreen and I were on our own. Joey cleaned up the bar and was busy putting upside-down chairs on top of tables so he could vacuum later. He glanced at us now and then with raised eyebrows, but I knew he probably didn't mind us lingering. I sighed. Well, when I arrived in Sanchez's office, he started yelling at me so loudly that he drew a crowd, which included the head of HR. She ended up pulling us both into her office. She reprimanded him for losing his crap so hard over a football game that he lost it all over again. But since he's a partner, the second S in ass, remember? I continued. I was the one who got fired. She said it made for an unsafe work environment to have a subordinate provoking a partner into such a violent response. I rolled my eyes and downed the shot of vodka in front of me. The bottle was now empty. Darn it. Oh, sweetie, that's horrible. So unfair, Doreen said in a consoling tone as she continued to vape. She looked at her watch, which reminded me of how late it was. Mac, my 15-year-old daughter, was probably at home dressed in black PJs, having just finished a vegan frozen meal for dinner and wondering why I wasn't home yet. Hopefully Grandma was at home on the other side of the duplex, keeping an eye on things. Or maybe she was down at Forever Young, the assisted living home where Gus lived. I really didn't want to think about that possibility, though. Again, ew. This main character is really coming across as an asshole. I've got to close up, ladies. Cricket, hang out here for a few minutes and I'll give you a ride home, okay? I just need to finish up a couple of things, Joey said, having appeared beside me as he gently touched my shoulder. I turned to answer him and was newly struck by his dark, good looks. Joey was tall, dark, and handsome. It was easy to forget when I'd known him for so long, and we had such an easy friendship between us. He cocked an eyebrow at me and ran a hand through his wavy brown hair. Oh, those deep russet eyes. Oh man, I thought, as a tingling feeling shot through me while meeting his gaze. I could get in a lot of trouble if I let him drive me home tonight. Hopefully not. Hopefully he respects the fact that you're drunk and that's non-consensual. Being as drunk as I was, I could end up taking advantage of him since he was so unintentionally sexy. Okay. I glanced at Doreen, my new BFF, who had made no move to leave even after hearing Joey say he was about to lock up. Joey, it's okay. Doreen here might give me a lift. I don't want to be a bother. I trailed off, eyeing his muscular arms again. Am I crazy? I'm crazy, I confirmed. And very drunk, I reminded myself. I turned to Doreen to see how she had received the news that she was now driving me home. She looked pleased about it. Sure, sweetie, no problem. She beamed at me, taking another pull of tutti frutti and exhaling the sweet-smelling vapors in my general direction. She grabbed a large, hot pink satchel from the bar stool next to her and stood up. It was then I noticed Doreen was indeed wearing jelly shoes. Sweet baby Jesus, I thought, trying not to laugh and failing. Joey frowned at me, then at Doreen, then back at me. No offense. I'm sorry. What is your name? He asked, but didn't wait for a reply before continuing. Cricket, you just met her. Wait around a couple of minutes, and I'll drop you off at your place. It's on my way. He untied the dirty apron he wore and glanced at Doreen again with disdain. I'll be right back. Don't move, he told me, then disappeared into the swinging double doors behind the bar. Come on, babe. Let's hit the road, Doreen said, taking my arm. I stood up and immediately noticed there were little fishies inside my head doing backflips. Whoa, that's not supposed to happen. I sat back down. I'm supposed to wait, I said weakly, pulling my arm out of her grasp. Suddenly, I didn't feel well. Why wait, Shug? I can take you now. Come on, she insisted, a sense of urgency creeping into her raspy voice. Again, she took my elbow and urged me up from the bar stool and grabbed my bag, looping it over my head. There's something I want to talk to you about, anyway, and we need some privacy. Doreen steered me toward the front door, and I didn't resist. I glanced behind us as we walked, but Joey was still in the back. I'll just call him tomorrow, later today, and explain. She led me out of the bar and onto the street where there was a black car already waiting by the entrance with tinted windows. It looked expensive. Wait, is this your car? I slurred. She opened the back passenger side door and unceremoniously shoved me in. After a moment, the little fishies in my brain settled down again, and Doreen opened the back door on the other side, climbing in beside me. Drive, she commanded, and a previously unnoticed figure behind the wheel complied. The car moved. It suddenly struck me that maybe this wasn't a good idea after all. Doreen turned her attention to me and beamed. Okay, sweetie, now we can talk. I couldn't risk anyone overhearing this. I was so glad you wanted me to give you a ride home. I blinked and tried to comprehend. Yeah, it was a brilliant idea. Your car is nice, I said, my words running together. Why did my mouth have cotton balls in it? Doreen giggled. Wait, I didn't tell you my address, I said, squinting at her. She ignored me and went on. It's so lucky you lost your job today. I'm telling you, hun, she said as she fired up the vapors again, considerately blowing them away from me. My boss is looking for someone just like you. When I saw you and heard your story, I knew you'd be perfect. She smiled and pressed a card into my hand. I looked down at it through my bleary eyes. It appeared to be a regular-sized business card, black, with a phone number embossed on it. That was all. Just a number. Wait. No. What? Who? I began, desperately trying to hold on to my consciousness and the vodka I had consumed earlier. The driver wasn't helping matters either, taking curves and turns much more quickly than my stomach would have liked. I swallowed hard as the contents of my stomach threatened to come up and the car lurched forward again. Just call the number tomorrow. I mean, later today, she said, giggling. As I took in the situation, I started giggling too, uncontrollably. You'll be glad you did, I promise, she said, smiling sweetly at me. She patted my hand affectionately while the car came to a sudden halt. I glanced at the card again and then stuck it in my bra. Good of a place as any, right? I grabbed my bag, and before I could reach for the handle, the driver opened the door for me. We were in front of my duplex, and every light in the place was on. Great, I thought. The driver held out a hand and helped me out of the car without a word. He was tall and wearing all black while I clumsily made my way out of the back seat. He held me steady while he walked me up the short driveway and then up the steps of my porch. Good luck, honey, Doreen called. My attendant rang the doorbell for me and left me to my own devices. I grabbed the porch railing to keep from falling over as I heard the car drive away. My stomach lurched just as the front door opened. Where the heck have you been, Mom? Mac asked, her arms crossed and eyes narrowed at me. I turned my head and vomited into the bushes. It says the page 9. Was that a short chapter? I feel like a really long one. Probably because it had a break in the middle. You know, that's a good enough first chapter. Yeah, okay. Immediate reaction is that's probably find, I find people who are intentionally made to be witty and bantery kind of tedious. But she seems fine. I don't know. I think I would try to read further on my own with this one. I don't think it's an immediate no. It's a most likely I'm not going to enjoy the entire book, but it's something to read the next time it's 80 degrees in November and I have a free day. So, putting that up there. All right. Moving on to the next book. Let's see. This one has a cool cover. Wait, this one might be gay. I don't remember. The Kingdom of Iron and Wine. The sexy, addictive, and heart-pounding first book in the Iron World series by U.S. Today bestselling author Candace Osmond. A new adult fantasy romance perfect for fans of Sarah J. Maas, Holly Black, and Jennifer L. Armentrout. She's part fae with sunlight in her veins. He's a vampire with a soul. It's a match made in magical hell, but Avery can't seem to stay away. I apologize. I hoped it was gay. It doesn't seem to be. Where are all my gay stories? I have to try harder next year. With her crew of misfit friends, fae, vampires, witches, and shifters, Avery Quinn uncovers a secret society of werewolves selling fae blood to vampires on the black market. Set against the artsy backdrop of downtown Halifax, A Kingdom of Iron and Wine is a fantastical tale of magic, danger, and love as Avery stumbles upon a hidden mythical world woven into her own buried past. With each secret she uncovers, Avery grows closer to darkness. Because, while her mortal heart may belong to Cillian, she has no idea her immortal soul was long promised to a dark fae lord, and he's coming to collect. One click this epic new adult fantasy romance and get lost in the magic today. Okay. Interesting. Fine. Is the prologue long? Yes. We may, no, not too long. All right, we may just do prologue in one chapter. Probably going to be longer than the other ones, but whatever. How long have I been streaming? We got time. Okay. Prologue. Nope, I gotta move this again. Just like the moon, she had a side of her so dark that even the stars couldn't shine on it. So cold that even the sun wouldn't dare burn against it. I'm trying to... I tipped my head back and closed my eyes as cool night air floated in through the open window of my stone-cased study. It caressed the back of my throat, mixed with the inhale of my cigar, and that's when I could smell her coming. Could see her in my mind for hours now. The young summer fae traipsed through the dark forest in search of me. How valiant she was to brave all that the wretched forest offered. None of it pleasant, for a summer fae anyway, but this one endured. Children of summer rarely ventured this far, to my fortress of stone and glass and darkness, a dark lord's home, but this one reeked of sunshine and desperation. She needed me. The lovely creature was just a few yards away now. With a gentle squeeze of my hand, I gripped the fabric of everything around me and left the comforts of my study to appear just outside the front door to greet her. I could smell the burn of the sun carried by whiffs of cherries from the black cherry trees that thickly lined my side of the forest. She emerged from it, covered in dark splotches of red and purple, only heightened by the stark, blood-red hair that hung down across the front of her torn, stained cotton dress. Her crazed eyes, like glittering emeralds, scanned and found me. And when her heaving body relaxed with relief, I realized she was the most incredible thing I'd ever seen. What corner of summer did she crawl from? Dark Lord, she addressed, chin raised and still out of breath, but she fought to hide it. I stuffed a casual hand inside the broad pocket of my black coat as I flicked the last of my cigar into a murky puddle. Odin is fine. We sized one another up for a moment. She'd trespassed, and she knew it. I watched as her wide green eyes raked over me, scrutinizing every line. You're not what I expected. Oh? I raised a curious brow, surprised by her audacity. And what did you expect? A leather-winged monster? An old crony consumed by his own darkness? She shook her head. I wanted to reach out and wring my finger through one of her blood-red locks. Sorry, I got ADHD brain had me clicking around. So realizing I haven't looked at some things in a little bit. Sorry. She's hot. She's hot, and he's having feelings about it. Right. Okay. Oh, I raised a curious brow, surprised by her audacity. And what did you expect? A leather-winged monster? An old crony consumed by his own darkness? She shook her head. I wanted to reach out and wring my finger through one of her blood-red locks that tipped the ends of her long hair. I thought I'd heard the female... Sorry. I've read enough paranormal romance to be triggered by the female. Ugh, God. This is gonna be toxic and annoying. And uncomfortably heterosexual. The female gestured up and down at my appearance. I just wasn't expecting this. Tall and handsome, draped in black velvet, hair like what? It'd been so long since someone stroked my ego. Was this a tactic? She's clever then. As if she could read my mind, her gaze lowered and narrowed. In an instant, she became a cunning and admirable foe, like white, like dove's wings, as if you're trying too hard to appeal to me. Did she know that I could cut her half in the blink of an eye? Throw my darkness in a blade through the air and slice her in 2, 3, even 4 pieces if I wanted to? She was a trespasser, albeit she'd somehow survived the horrors of the dark forest, but I already let her stand in my domain longer than any other outsider ever dared. But something about this one spoke to me, called to my darkness with questions and demands, and part of me wanted to give it to her. So, I changed the subject. What brings you to this depth of hell? I gently motioned a wave at the wall of thick trees behind her. My sister has caught the eye of the summer lord. Keelan. I stifled a grumble. Pompous warmonger. They're to be wed within the year, she added. And you wish to steal him from her? I asked. No, she replied, and sucked in a deep breath, her scent suddenly filled with a strained sense of love. She loved her sister, but jealousy consumed her. I wish to find my own love. My eyes flashed a warning. You won't find that in my domain, dearie. She straightened, her expression stark and cunning. Oh, she'd make a fine queen indeed. Won't I? What is it you truly seek? I demanded curtly. My patience was already waning. The summer fae rapidly blinked through her thoughts, clenching both hands at her sides. I need a love potion. I couldn't hide my surprise. A love potion, you say? I turned and slowly paced in front of her, testing how much my presence intimidated her, but she didn't so much as flinch. And what makes you think such a thing can be done? She looked me firmly in the eyes, and I saw madness there, a flicker of it, waiting to be ignited. I know it can. She whipped a small knife from her belt and dragged the blade across her palm before turning it over. My eyes widened. What are you? Blood dripped to the earth at our feet. My earth, my domain. I didn't bother hiding the annoyance in my sigh as I pinched the space between my eyes. Where did you learn that? The female shrugged. It doesn't matter. What does matter is you're now bound to me. You must bid me one request. Curse those ancient laws, ridiculous binds and wards created by Therians that, unfortunately, could be used by Fae as well. Our world was never the same once word spread of what could be done to us, to use us, control us. It sickened me. A love potion, my back teeth grit together. A love potion. A love potion. She nodded with confidence. A love potion. I stared, unblinking. So did she. Could I use this to my advantage? She was a pretty thing, clearly a strong female. Powerful? That was yet to be determined. I kept my expression even. I have conditions. Of course. I need to know who it's intended to be used on. A whiff of panic filled her scent, but she nodded. And I require a bargain, to trade for the potion. I expected to pay, she replied coolly. Name your price. I clicked my tongue, so eager to get what you want that you'd blindly enter a bargain with a dark lord. Not blindly, she replied, and returned her dagger to its hilt. I'll hear your terms. Her confidence was impressive. First, I must know, I continued pacing, leaving her filled with anticipation. Do you seek this potion truly for love or for power? Again, her scent tinged the air with a burst of dread, but she held a lovely smile in her rounded face. For love, of course. And the receiver of this potion? She took in a long breath. For the king. The Seelie King, I balked. The audacity of such a thought. An inward groan turned over in my chest. I wished I'd thought of it. You hope to woo the High King of this world? To what end? Finally, she let a little of the tenor I could feel in her presence slip through, and a wicked grin tugged at the corner of her mouth. Like I said, for love. I wish for him to fall madly in love with me so I may be his queen, his equal. A guffaw escaped from me. You don't know Orion too well to believe you'd be his equal or anything close to it. You'd be a trophy, at best. You let me handle that, she replied so coolly I almost believed perhaps she could see the future, the certainty of which she held on to this plan of hers. It was admirable, I don't know. But I was already growing tired of it. It was time to get what I wanted out of this. Very well. I stopped pacing and tucked my hands behind my back. I'll construct a love potion so strong Orion will grovel to his knees at first sight of you. Her answering grin was so wicked it stirred a sleepy darkness in my gut. In exchange for your firstborn daughter. Her face paled, and she stumbled back a step. My what? I let my boredom show to hurry her mind along. You heard me. A love potion in exchange for your firstborn daughter. Her gaze, laced with guilt, fell to the ground. Why a daughter? Would any child do? My fingers plucked at the single button that held my black jacket closed, and I sat on a large rock. You see, I'm in the market for a queen myself. You may keep and raise her, but she'll be mine upon her 18th birthday. She stared at me with pursed lips. To what end? I chuckled at the use of my own words. What was it you said? For love? She only hesitated a moment before offering a hand. Deal. Just like that, I pushed to my feet. How desperate you are for power. I closed the distance between us and let her scent envelop me. Lies, deceit, jealousy. She reeked of it all. I caressed a finger under her chin, and she lifted it to hold my stare. A formidable foe she would become. The summer fae finally let the extent of her wickedness show through, and she spread across her parted crimson lips. For love, you mean? Oh, how this dance would prove worthy of my investment. And for love, it shall be. I stepped back and held out my hand. She glanced down at it and, for a fleeting moment, hesitated just as she moved to take it. I said, one more condition. She glared up at me from under her lowered brow. The scales of this bargain are beginning to tip in your favor, Dark Lord. Just a simple request, I replied, necessary for the bargain to hold. Her eyes darted to my still outstretched hand. What then? Your name. Her fingers opened, and she reached for me with an unapologetic sneer. Mabry. Her soft hand slipped into mine, and I gripped it tightly, sealing the bargain in gold bands across our wrists. The tendrils of the bond crawled around our joined hands, swirling up and around our arms until driven into both our chests with a hefty force. But it only seemed to ignite that madness I'd seen dormant in her soul only moments ago. Mabry Soulborn. Chapter 1. Do I want to read chapter 1? I don't know. How long is it? Because that first one was pretty good and enticing. Yeah, chapter 1's too long. It's fine. We got through the prologue, and that was an enticing prologue. Weirded out, confused, concerned, dare I say even a little worried for this little girl. Yeah. All right. That was probably the best beginning, honestly. It was a lot of fun. I like that. Yeah. I would definitely give that one a shot when we're not streaming. I may actually read that later. I don't know, this week or month or what have you. That was pretty good. It was pretty interesting. All right. Moving on. Going off of covers. Do we want another cover with a person on it or one with no person? I wish I could tell which ones are gay. I don't think any of them are. I fear I was wrong. I'm filled with fear. Okay, we'll go, this one has a man on the cover, so. An Argentium vampire novel. Raised by Venom. P.S. Nile. Raised by Venom. She killed his brother, now he wants revenge. Will the vampire rip her heart out or give her his? I'm disappointed in myself. I should have tried harder. Sage, born into the secret organization Venom, my only mission was to help eradicate the virus that turns humans into vampires. My first night in the field, I killed a bloodsucker, causing his vengeful brother to stalk me, arrogantly playing with his food before the final kill. Being terrorized by Luca was stressful enough, but when information about my organization is revealed, I struggle with my own moral code. With help from him and some other supernatural enemies, we begin to uncover secrets my society is hiding. But Venom isn't the only one concealing something. My attraction towards Luca is like no other. The sensual feelings terrify me to the core. Luca. Watching a hunter plunge a stake into my brother's heart left me heartbroken and murderous. My newfound obsession is to terrorize her until I'm ready to make the kill. When information about my other brother's abduction is discovered, my blind need for revenge halts. To expose Venom's true agenda and hopefully find him alive, I must join forces with the enemy. Sage is brazen, judgmental, and annoying, constantly testing my patience. But the mind-blowing scent of her sweet lust... gross. Makes it impossible to work with her. It's beyond magical, leaving me infatuated, ready to sink my fangs into her. The Argentium Vampire Hunters trilogy is an 18+, clearly. Paranormal romance set in present time with a two-character, first-person, multiple point of view. This book ends on a cliffhanger. Possible spoilers below. Tropes, enemies to lovers, forbidden love, secret relationship, strong female character, alpha male, age gap, touch her and die, found family, dark secret, rivals, revenge. The thrill of fighting him was addicting. He was addicting. His eyes darkened as he looked at me from under his long lashes. His hand tightened on my throat and I swallowed hard from the pressure, the nervousness now getting to me. He leaned in close, his nose touching mine. His fangs were only a breath away, along with his lips. Sage. My breaths were ragged as I tried hard to shift my focus, to break the intense eye contact, but I couldn't. Her beautiful brown irises were giving me life, The cock of a small crossbow made me flinch, the fear of death being the only thing that could take my attention from her. Luca. I'm really glad that was the cock. The cock of it? That was the cock that it was. I'm not sure how far we're gonna get into this one, because it's gonna clearly be extremely horny. What you doing down there? Oh, she's following the shadow of me waving this around. What you doing down there? You're happy. We have a kitty wheel. I got it years ago when I first moved into this place. It's like one of the first things I got because I never had one before and I really wanted her to have one. But they hated it. I had 3 cats at the time. All of them hated it. Down to 2 now. They probably still hate it. I keep taking it in and out of the closet. I will like hide it for like a couple months, dig it back out, try to get them into it. It's been in there for at least a year now, maybe a year and a half, 2. It's been a while since I pulled this thing out of the closet, but yeah, maybe she'll like it this year, but she probably won't. Come here. I could use a kitty break from all this stupid alpha bullshit, right? Right? Mwah! Kitty cat break. Hi, baby. Hi, Trouble. Hey, Trouble. What you doing? Okay. All right. Good God. Quote. If you would not be forgotten as soon as you are dead and rotten, either write things worth reading or do things worth the writing. Playlist. Why is the dictionary looking that? I just want to... What? Oh. What's in this playlist? Killing strangers, ritual, take me to church, everybody wants to rule the world, bad at love, vampire chronicles song, snuff by Slipknot, come a little closer by Cage the Elephant, in this moment, Marilyn Manson. All right, down with the sickness. So this is the vibe. Vaguely annoying. I'm kidding. I like this kind of music. I'm sorry. I'm so negative. Sweet Talk by the Killers. There's something. Stay by Rihanna. Running Up That Hill by Placebo. Alright, well, there you go. That's the vibe of the book. Continuing on. Warning, this book contains explicit language, alcohol consumption, fighting, choking, blood, gore, murder, graphic violence, attempted sexual assault, cult-like ceremonies, abduction, torture, and imprisonment. It also contains explicit sexual content that includes unprotected sex, edging, bondage, spanking, and swapping of bodily fluids, e.g. semen and blood. Gross. If you find a warning I missed, please email me. A war has been brewing between 2 opposing groups for over 300 years. Venom, Vampire Eradicating National Organization of Malice, and Save, Supernaturals Against Venom Elitists. Sage. Okay. Sage, I have wondered my whole life if those happily ever after stories actually exist. If they do, who are the lucky ones that get to experience it? Are we all just side characters in another person's story? Because that's what I have felt like. Just a side character. Not even a villain. A nobody, really. One whose death could be written off quickly with barely even a tear shed. My life was boring, and I felt like it was going nowhere until he came. He was the main character in his story, something I always wished to be. I loved to hate him until I fell for him, taking sleeping with the enemy to a whole new level. My name is Sagelyn Argent, and the story I'm about to tell you is not one for the faint of heart. There is adventure, self-growth, denial lust, heartache, love, betrayal, and even death. Don't say I didn't warn you. Luca. 250 years ago, I was turned into a vampire. I was only 26 at the time, and that's the age I will stay for eternity. My life wasn't perfect, but it was fun. It consisted mostly of drinking blood, screwing, and trying not to get killed until she came. I was ready to murder her after what she did, end her life in a slow, painful way. Then I couldn't bring myself to do it. She was the one thing I never wanted, but somehow she was exactly what I needed. My name is Lucas Draven, and the story I'm about to tell you is a screwed up one of betrayal to my vampire family and to my own self-respect. Having enemies was easy, but trying not to fall in love with one was hard as heck. Grab a beer. You're going to need it. These stories are so dramatic. Chapter 1, Sage. It takes one incident, one moment, to change the outcome of history, the outcome of your life. You never know when it will happen, but when it does, you immediately wonder if you regret it, or if you would do it all over again. Wandering down a dark alley alone at night was probably a bad idea, but it's what they instructed me to do. After 10 years of extensive training, you'd think I would have been ready, but I felt no one could be prepared to kill the first vampire. Part of my mission was spending the evening in a bar. Since I needed to be on my game for what I had to do, I ordered non-alcoholic drinks, so my head would stay clear. He had watched me at the bar. I didn't know his name. They trained us not to care about their names, not to care about them at all. They were evil creatures who needed to be eradicated, either by death or cure. The hierarchical organization I was born into taught me that. The Vampire Eradicating National Organization of Malice, commonly known as Venom. As a teenager, the Vampire Eradicating National Organization of Malice. They really tried hard, so the acronym was Venom. Jesus Christ. Vampire Eradicating National Organization of Malice. As a teenager, I didn't get to hang out at the mall or go on random camping trips with friends from school. I don't know if I've ever been on a random camping trip with a friend from school. Instead, I was educated by the Venom Society and spent most of my time training to be a vampire hunter. I was 25, and up to this point, it was all my life had consisted of. Doing the same mundane tasks over and over left me pretty jaded. Little did I know how much my life would change after this night. The requirement to be fully inducted into Venom, kill my Vampire Eradicating National Organization of Malice. Is that so funny? Probably because I've been streaming for a while. Stupid. God, anyway, the requirement to be fully indicted into Venom, kill my first vampire and survive. Since there was no leaving the organization, if I succeeded, I would be in it until death. If I failed, I would be dead, which was pretty much the same, only on a shorter timeline. Thank you for snottily and snarkily explaining to me. Good God. I don't have a problem with this story so far. We haven't read it enough. But, like, a theme throughout these is this, like, over-explaining. Like, obviously not everything is, like, right, projected, or I'm not thinking of the right word. Like, not every story has some kind of mystery and, like, what's gonna happen kind of thing. The author hasn't told us everything, but there's just this vague thread of over-explanation. I'm angry because of this. I am every one of these emotions because of this. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm not very good at describing the vibes I get from reading. Maybe it doesn't even make sense. I don't know. Whatever. The requirement, right. A small part of me almost wished I would fail. Spending my life hunting vampires wasn't what I wanted. If I had my way, I would tour the world visiting small villages, see all my favorite bands in concert, and possibly learn how to play the guitar. Or maybe just be freaking normal. My cell phone rang and I quickly reached for it. The distraction call was supposed to make me look like a vulnerable girl alone. Like, I have my basic everyday emotions, and I am a person who lives vaguely in denial at all times. Unfortunately, I need to work on that. But yeah. So my base emotions, and then like what I'm hiding, and then even further what I'm hiding. You know, like there's layers. There's always something underneath, and there's eventually an end, right? These people, these stories, they just have like, I just wish I had a normal life, and there's not really layers to it. There's not like expectations and like everything is just plopped on the screen. You get what you get, you see what you get what you see, you know? And that's fine. That's a way to tell a story, and it's pretty common for urban fantasy, but it's kind of frustrating that like there's no mystery to the characters. It's not frustrating. It just gets to be very one note. Clearly, I'm getting tired. All right, she wants to run around and be normal. My cell phone rang, and I quickly reached for it. The distraction call was supposed to make me look like a vulnerable girl alone. Hello? Is he still following you? It was another member of Vampire Eradication National Organization of Menace. Yes, Mom, I'm okay. Are you prepared? Marcus asked. Yes, I ordered an Uber and I'm walking down to meet it now. I hoped I was good at playing the clueless victim. Call as soon as he's dead. Be careful, Sage. I will, Mom. Love you too. The call ended. A shadow in my peripheral caught my attention, so I dropped the phone to my side but kept it in my hand. My high-heeled boots clicked on the concrete as I tried to steady my breathing. If my adrenaline kicked in, my heart would speed up and the vampire would hear it. Halfway down the alley, he made his move and landed directly in front of me. I'm sure he had expected me to scream or run, but that wasn't me. I lifted my cell phone and clicked the button on the side of the case, turning on a bright UV light. He screamed and fell to his knees. Taking advantage of his momentary weakness, I ran up and swung my leg toward his face. He caught my ankle mid-swing, causing me to fall flat on my back, knocking the wind out of me. And, unfortunately, the phone fell from my hand. He tried to crawl on top of me, so I kicked him in his chest and rolled away before quickly jumping to my feet. He did the same. This will be fun, the vampire said, as the skin on his face healed before my eyes. Yes, it will. Raising my fists, I went into a defensive stance. Well, come on, I taunted with an arrogant grin. Without hesitation, he lunged for me. Though I tried to dodge him, he plowed into my shoulder, knocking me down again. As quickly as I could, I scrambled away from him. If he got on top of me, he would have the upper hand and I would be dead. A fist came at me as I sprung to my feet, but I dodged it, instead counterattacking with a roundhouse kick to his chest. He stumbled back, but came at me again. A blinding pain radiated through my face as his fist landed, making me fly back and hit the hard pavement. The impact had me gasping for air while he stood over me before I had a chance to even move. As I lay on my back, I frantically tried to think of how to get out of this situation. He put one foot on either side of my body, blocking me in. There were no magical breathing techniques to calm my adrenaline surge now. My heart threatened to beat out of my chest as the fear of death ran through me. Perhaps I didn't want to die after all. You're pathetic. Screw you, I spat as blood dribbled from my busted lip, the metallic taste filling my mouth. I probably would if you weren't a Venom member. You are rather pretty. He tilted his head with a smile which dropped with quickness. Why are you screaming at me? Come here. Okay. No. You get one scream, you get one cuddle. More pain radiated through me from a kick to my stomach, making me roll to my side. A second kick caused me to cough as it expelled the air from my lungs. though through squinted, watering eye. Why are you wet? Why is she wet? Maybe she was just cleaning herself. I don't like that. That was not pleasant. Okay. More. If you're. I think we're safe. Sometimes she forgets to clean herself, and it's an ongoing issue. She's getting old. She's 10. Aren't you 10? More pain radiated through me from a kick to my stomach, making me roll to my side. A second kick caused me to cough as it expelled the air from my lungs. Through squinted, watering eyes, I found my phone a foot out of reach, so I rolled over on my back to give myself time to devise a plan. Please don't kill me, I whimpered as tears streamed down my cheeks. They weren't fake. I was hurting. He squatted over me, almost sitting on my stomach, and ran a finger across my bloody lip. Oh, poor little venom member. With his fangs half extended, he slid his tongue across his finger, licking my blood. You taste delicious. Vampire or not, I knew a man's weakness. With a last-ditch effort to save my life, I punched him straight in the dick. He grabbed his crotch and yelled before falling to his knees, now completely straddling me. The weight of him sitting on my stomach made it impossible to move quickly. I squirmed out from under him enough to reach for my phone. I clicked on the light, aiming it at his face. He used his hands in an attempt to shield himself. You bee. Ignoring his remarks, I held the light only inches from him as I sat up. The stench of burning flesh filled the air along with the sounds of his screams. Even though it was hard, with only one free arm, I managed to pull my legs out from underneath him. After hopping to my feet, I kicked him in the face and he fell to the ground. I dug my high heel into his chest while I held the light on him. Where is your den? I asked. Getting no response, I clicked the UV light up to level 2 and he screamed as I tried to steady my shaking hands. I said, where is your den? Like I would tell you. I clicked the UV light to level 3. He screamed louder as I dug my heel in so far I felt the skin break. That feeling made me nauseous. This has 5 levels and each one gets worse, so I would start talking if I were you. Stop, please, he begged. His voice cracked and a part of me felt bad, so I turned the light back to level 1. Then tell me where it is. Screw off. I hope you all die. Tell me where your den is or you will be the one dying. It honestly didn't matter whether he told me. My mission stated I had to kill him. Otherwise, I wouldn't be inducted in. But pumping him for more information could be helpful. I would rather die than tell you. Your call. His screams echoed through the alley as I returned the light to level 3. After removing my heel from his chest, I pulled a silver stake from the waistband of my jeans. My bright light kept him still as I slammed it into his chest. It was harder than I expected, puncturing through the layers of skin and muscle to get to the heart. The practice dummies I had worked on were hard, but this was worse. I was glad my aim had been perfect and I missed the bones. No matter how skilled you are, they're incredibly difficult to stake through. He gasped as his mouth fell open in shock. My hands trembled as his skin turned gray, then his body slowly disintegrated to ash. For a second, relief flooded me when I didn't die. Then I felt like a piece of crap. We were taught they were evil creatures who weren't supposed to feel sorry for, so why did I? My whole body shook as remorse filled me. I pushed my feelings aside, turned off the UV light, and clicked the button on my earpiece. Done, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. Copy, Marcus answered. Thanks to the locator on my watch, the van would be here in less than 2 minutes to pick me up. With the tip of my boot, I spread the ash around a little, trying to make it look less noticeable. If somebody stumbled upon it, they would assume someone made a bonfire, and even though it was barely autumn in San Angelo, New Mexico. Something on the rooftop caught my eye, and I looked up to ensure no one had been watching me. Waiting for more movement, I glared at the spot. My eyes stung as I tried not to blink, worrying I would miss it. Maybe I imagined the shadows dancing, but I had an overwhelming feeling I was being watched. My heart raced, so I took slow, deep breaths, willing myself to stay calm. As a black van pulled up next to me, its door slid open, startling me. I quickly hopped inside before the vehicle sped off. Great job, Marcus said from the seat across from me, his mahogany cheeks glowing with pride. Thanks. My adrenaline was still running high. I took a deep breath, trying to relax myself. How did it feel to finally kill your first vamp? Eric asked. He was our getaway driver. Okay, I guess. I swallowed hard. It wasn't okay. More like terrifying. I had never killed anything before in my life, and it made my chest ache, even if it was a vampire. Marcus furrowed his eyebrows. What do you mean, okay? I rolled my eyes. Oh, excuse me. It was fang-freaking-tastic. Better? Much better. Eric locked eyes with me in the rear view mirror as he laughed. Unfortunately, not everyone makes their first kill. Your dad will be proud, Sage. I know, Marcus. You're injured. Let me clean your wound. Marcus grabbed the first aid kit and dug through it. Are you okay? Eric asked. I looked up into the mirror again. I'll be fine. I smiled, hoping he would relax. He nodded before turning his eyes back to the road. Marcus moved over to my side of the van, and I clenched my fist tight so he wouldn't notice me shaking. Look at me. Marcus's brown eyes were kind as he dabbed a cloth wetted with an antiseptic solution on my lip. You will be sore tomorrow, but it doesn't look too bad. Thanks, Marcus. You're welcome. He smiled proudly before kissing the side of my head. Welcome to Venom, sweetie. Every mission we went on, we had to have a senior member with us to lead. I was grateful I had gotten Marcus as my commander on my first night out. I loved him with all my heart. He was second in command in our society and like a father to me. He was, in fact, also my godfather. I can't believe you are officially part of Venom, Eric gushed. Born in Venom, dies in Venom, Marcus said. Until death, Eric added. That's what dies in Venom means, dummy, I retorted, and Marcus and I both laughed. Marcus took a deep breath and stilled his face. Anyone following us, Eric? No, Marcus. I've been watching. Good. Let's get back to the base. Marcus returned to the side of the van he was previously on and began typing on his tablet. I knew he would be busy recording the notes from tonight's events, so I crawled into the front seat. After a 10-minute drive on the highway and another 20 on back roads, we finally made it to base camp. The Venom compound was an extremely secure piece of land in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by an electrified fence topped with barbed wire. It housed multiple buildings, each with their own use. We always had a full staff of security guarding the campus, even though we had never been attacked. As far as I knew, the vampires didn't even know where we were located. Everyone in Venom had a job. Other than security, we had secretaries, bookkeepers, IT, nurses, trainers, and multiple other positions. Then there were hunters like me and Eric. We would hunt vampires so they could be sent off to the research lab in the hopes of one day finding a cure for vampirism. Unfortunately, sometimes we would come across some uncooperative ones we would have to kill. We pulled up to the barbed wire-topped gates. Eric rolled his window down and placed an index finger on the security scanner to make them open. I glanced up at the guard tower and saw a woman dressed in full black holding a rifle. I couldn't tell who they were in the dark, but I had a sneaking suspicion. Based on her silhouette, it was my friend Lyric. Eric pulled the van in and the gates shut behind us. Another armed guard gave us a nod as we drove by. We headed toward the main building where they held ceremonies, meetings, and where all the clerical offices were located. He turned down a small alley, which took us to an oversized garage. As soon as Eric parked, we hopped out and headed toward the elevator. The smell of the garage calmed me. It reminded me of my childhood since I was raised in this compound. Pushing the button on the wall, the elevator doors opened and we stepped inside. Marcus put his finger on the scanner and the red light turned green. After tonight, I would be fingerprinted and have limited access to certain areas as well. My security clearance would only be a level 2, but someday I would run Venom and be a level 6, even if it wasn't what I wanted. We stayed silent as we rode the elevator down to the basement. As soon as the doors opened, my mother was waiting with an anxious look on her face, which faded to relief when she saw me. Sage Lynn, she pulled me into a hug as soon as I stepped off the elevator. I knew you would be fine. I'm so proud of you. She looked over my face and gasped. I'm fine, Mom, I whispered, and she gave me an empathetic smile. Sage Lynn, darling, welcome to the society, my father said as he walked up. I knew you would do it, however. It took longer than I expected from you. You will learn someday that you can't leave people waiting, but we can talk about that later. Let's get the induction started." My father slid his mask over his face and turned away. As the respected president of our society, as soon as he did anything, people followed, including me. I sighed as quietly as I could, hoping he wouldn't hear me. Eric gave me a sad smile. "It took longer than I expected from you," his words repeated over and over in my head. It was common for my father to compliment me and put me down all in the same minute. Sadly, I was used to it. We entered the ceremonial room packed with people. Every single person was wearing a mask and a dark green cloak with the hood up. Each mask was hand-carved into a face, which I found to be rather creepy. 2 society members were at the door and laid the same type of heavy cloak on me. As my dad took the stage, I glanced up at our banner hanging behind him. It was the same deep green as our cloaks, and I had our logo on it in white. The symbol was a viper with the words venom on it. Not very original, to be honest. "Welcome, members of the Vampire Eradicating National Organization of Malice," my dad announced. "It's time for the induction of our newest member. Please welcome my daughter, Sagelyn Argent." The crowd clapped as I ascended the small set of stairs and made my way up to him. My distant grandparents founded our society over 300 years ago. Control of it has been passed down each generation to the eldest child. As you all know, my only child is Sage, so she will one day lead you. This makes tonight extra special because she will also be the first female president. The crowd roared as my father turned toward me. "Kneel." I kneeled before him as 2 cloaked members walked up. Both had masks on, but I could tell by the design of them who they were. Marcus handed my dad a wooden mask as Darren set a large golden urn in front of me. This mask was carved with the strengths of the wearer in mind. You must stay masked and cloaked at every ceremony. Do you understand? Being a Venom member is an honor and a job you will do until death. I do. My dad placed the mask on my face and then pulled my hood up. He then put a silver necklace with our symbol engraved on it around my neck. "The ceremonial dagger, please." My father held out his hand as a knife with a handle made from the bone of a vampire was given to him. "Your hand." Nervousness filled me as I placed my hand in my father's. He ran the blade across my palm and sliced it open. Thankful for the cover of the mask, I winced at the stinging sensation. He turned my hand over and held it above the urn. I watched every drop of blood as it fell, making a slight thud sound in the room's quietness. After giving enough blood for the ritual, my father let go of my hand. "Rise." I did as he bade and rose from the ground, turning toward the crowd. Everyone silently stared at me through their creepy masks. "Born from the blood of venom," my father shouted, and the group repeated. "Now, let's celebrate in the dining hall." Most of the crowd had dispersed as my father left the stage. A hand reached out and grabbed my wrist, making my gaze wander upward. Eric had his mask on top of his head and a scowl on his face as his gorgeous brown eyes inspected my bloody hand. "Let's clean this," he said kindly as he pressed a cloth into my hand. We strolled to the bathroom and he held the door open for me before we headed toward the sink. Did he have to go so darn deep? He grabbed my hand and stuck it under the warm water and I hissed. "Sorry. I'm okay. It's not bad." "Lies. Mine hurt like a son of a bee and he went much deeper on you." I was sure he did it on purpose. My father wanted to ensure I was stronger and better than anyone else. In his eyes, I should be impervious to everything. I rolled my eyes and sighed. "It won't kill me, unfortunately. No negative talk, Sage." "Sorry. I hate my life." He smirked. "I know you do. I don't want to be leader of this society." "I know you don't." A small laugh left him because this was the same conversation we had at least once a week. He grabbed a clean washcloth from the closet and pressed into my hand before his eyes met mine. "I can't take you seriously with your mask on." He lowered my hood and lifted my mask onto the top of my head before he pushed my short black hair behind my ears and smiled. "That's better." "Thanks." I let out a deep breath, the sound echoing in the bathroom. "You have a long time before worrying about taking over," Eric reminded me as he headed to the first aid cabinet. He grabbed some supplies to bandage my hand and returned. "I know." He gently took my hand and removed the cloth. "This definitely needs to be bounded." "I'll be fine." "Sage." "Okay, but can we do it after the feast? You know my dad will be peed if I go now." "Fine, but immediately after." Yes, sir, drill sergeant, sir. I saluted him with my good hand. He wrapped the gauze around my wound, then smirked. You're a brat. You love me. I stared up into his eyes and smiled mischievously. Of course I do. You're my best friend. Eric and I were only 2 years apart and had been raised in the society together. He was a good-looking man, clean-shaven and stylish. His hair was brown, his skin was golden, and he was muscular. Of course, I loved him too, but my feelings were like ones you would have for a brother. He felt the same way about me. Eric's sister, Lyric, was my other best friend. She was like a sister to me as well, since I had no siblings of my own. He taped my gauze down. All done. Let me see your face. He lifted my chin and ran his thumb lightly across the cut on my lip. It's noticeable, but it's not bad. It could have been worse. I know. He dropped his hand and sighed. We better get back before my dad gets mad. I know. He laughed and held the bathroom door open for me as we exited. Okay. Immediate reaction? It's okay. I'm intrigued by the society. It's a bit silly. But, I think once the romance starts, it'll be deeply annoying. It's okay. I'm somewhat intrigued by the world building. But I know my tastes. And I know this just isn't up to that level. It could be if I give it a shot. But every time I start something with, it could be something I like, I usually don't like it by the end of it. I'm a very picky person. I'd be willing to give it a shot, but that's me thinking through the first chapter when this is a romance. A dark enemies to lovers toxic romance where she killed his brother and he wants to kill her, but he can't because she's so sexy or something. So yeah, I probably wouldn't like it. But if there was no romance and it was just him trying to kill her, that'd be cool. It could be fun. It could be interesting. It could be, I don't know. We'll put this in the I might look at it later category. Okay. Let's do I don't know, 1 or 2 more? How long have we been going? 2 hours. How many have we read? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Only 6, really. And even one of them was the first page. I wish I could tell if any of these are gay. I don't think that one is. Okay. Let's do a sapphic vampire romance. Hell yeah. We found it. We found the gay. Oops. Everything's all messed up. Alright, okay. Witchbound, sable, cross. A forbidden book, a forbidden spell, a forbidden love. Strawberry has always struggled for recognition among her magical superiors, hindered by her unconventional talents and her family's disgraced legacy. Seeking the opportunity to prove herself, she takes an ancient and prohibited tome written in mysterious runes and strikes a dangerous bargain with the formidable heiress divine, the seductive and coldly regal vampire queen who rules the city's supernatural underworld. As Strawberry delves deeper into her magical studies under the irresistibly aloof heiress, forbidden passion blossoms, and an undeniable spark ignites between the optimistic witch and the immortal queen. Eager to gain heiress's approval, Strawberry performs a forbidden spell so powerful it almost kills her, and binds the unsuspecting vampire queen to the witch priestess. Overcome with guilt, Strawberry struggles with the knowledge and subsequent result of the binding spell. And with the supernatural factions on the brink of war, how will she confess to the already overworked heiress what she's done? How does she face the woman she loves more than life with a secret and a betrayal so devastating? And how will the supernatural factions react when they learn of Strawberry's reckless disregard for the most powerful of all magic? Blood magic. Witchbound Book 1 is the first book in the blood magic duet. Immerse yourself in the intoxicating, dangerous romance between a cunning vampire queen and the alluring young witch who steals her unbeating heart. This is a steamy vampire romance with supernatural themes. Content notes are available on the copyright page. Alright. Cool. Put that over there. Put this over here. Put this over here. Alright. Witchbound, Book 1. I think I already read this. Yes. Wait, on the copyright page. Content warning. This book contains references to blood, maiming, the occult, and torture in a supernatural setting. Chapter 1, Strawberry. Thinking back to my last witch council assessment. You're interrupting me again. Shoo. Shoo. Shoo away. Go. Thinking back to my last witch council assessment, I remember standing in front of their stern, judging faces as they openly criticized my abilities. Her spells lack precision and control, Octavian Thorn had commented, his sharp tone cutting. Agatha's spelling nodded in agreement. Raw power means nothing without discipline and focus. I'd left feeling small, underestimated, and pathetic, but I'd vowed to myself that I would prove them all wrong. Now the moment of truth has arrived, and despite all my preparation, my breath still shakes when I draw it in deeply to center myself. I know I'm stronger now, wiser, and I will show these assholes the full extent of my abilities. They will see I am worthy of my family's legacy, regardless of the stain the mentioning of their names seems to leave behind. The darkened chamber, lit by flaming torches, shrouds the 7 witch council members in an eerie gloom, their stern faces turned towards me as I approach. Heart pounding, I manage to keep my expression neutral. I will not let them see my nerves. Eldrick Beckett's sharp eyes follow my every movement, as does Orion Hart's. I look to Magdalena Hart, the grand sorceress of the council, but she views me indifferently, her face devoid of any discernible emotion. Welcome, Strawberry, says Seraphina Crest, the liaison between my coven and the council. Are you prepared to begin the test? I nod, not trusting my voice, but my magic thrums just below my skin, ready to be unleashed. Then let us start with the demonstration of elemental manipulation, she continues. Conjure wind, water, fire, and earth upon our command. The first trials begin. My strength is in nature magic, healing and communicating with animals, but I know elemental magic well enough that I know my strengths and weaknesses. Channeling my anxiety into focus, I draw deep from my inner well of power. When the council gives the word, I summon the forces of nature with gestures and spells. The wind whips my fire-red hair as flames dance at my fingertips. The ground trembles and water swirls. I can tell my display impresses some of the council members, but others, like Eldrick, Agatha, Octavian, and even Evelyn White, keep their expressions carefully neutral. I have more to prove. When the elemental magic ends, they move on to the next tests, ward protection, conjuring, and finishing with alchemy. My nerves threaten to shake my concentration, but I cling to my determination. I will show the council the full breadth of my talents. Failure is not an option. The trials seem to stretch on endlessly, each one taxing my abilities in new ways. I draw runes, recite incantations, and channel energy until I'm nearly spent, but I manage not to falter. Finally, it ends, and I stand before the witch council members, sweat beading my brow as they confer amongst themselves. I watch their faces closely, searching for any hint of how I did. After what feels like an eternity, Seraphina steps forward. Strawberry, you have demonstrated remarkable skill and potential today. My heart leaps. I did it. But then Eldrick interrupts. Potential, yes, but far from mastery. Your elemental magic is unrefined. Your protective wards are weak. He fixes me with his stern gaze. You have much more to learn. For a moment, I'm too stunned to respond. How can he dismiss all I've shown them? Anger simmers within me, but I force it down, and will not lose my temper before the council. I understand, I say evenly. I am still learning, but I hope I have proven I possess the capability. With the council's guidance, I will continue to hone my skills. Come here. Sometimes she yells so hard at me, she scrunches up her little face. Her little face gets scrunched from yelling at me. I know you think it's 10 o'clock. I promise it's not. I promise it's not 10 o'clock. You're not getting food for another hour. Eldrick nods, but Octavian's frown isn't unnoticed. Angry and frustrated, I give my polite farewells and leave the council to no doubt continue their judgment of me. Will I never rise to ascended? I've been a priestess for what feels like an eternity. Even Ivy, the youngest of our coven, is on the cusp of stepping up from neophyte. Leaving the inner chambers in their biased eyes, I make my way up the stairs, brushing past other scholars and witches from covens who come to study and be tested and no doubt pass, since the council is sure to have no issue with their abilities. Wiping away the angry tears, I push through the library's entrance, striding past the public rooms lined with common texts, and head straight for the far back wall. Aware I'm about to do something entirely prohibited, I only hesitate a moment, checking to ensure I'm not seen. An ascended would be allowed in. As priestess, I am forbidden. Then my resolve takes hold, and with a decisive twist... The camera moved. That's fine. Then my resolve takes hold, and with a decisive twist, I turn the small stone raven tucked between two bookshelves. It pivots sideways, and the entire wall swings silently inward. Celine would be devastated to learn I used her trusted knowledge for such an endeavor. But how am I to achieve higher status when the council insists on keeping me bridled? Marching down the passage revealed behind it, the lamps flicker to life at my presence. The tunnel leads to a cramped, windowless room stuffed with ancient tomes and scrolls, the air heavy with the scent of old paper, ink, and must. I breeze past the sections on charms, runes, and healing, my gaze fixed on a plain bookcase in the back corner. This is it, the restricted archives barred to all below the council rank of adept. As priestess, I shouldn't have entered. An ascendant would not venture to the shelf, but I can't let their injustice hold me back any longer. If it's come to this, it's because of their discriminatory actions. With a deep breath, I step forward and run my fingers along the worn spines, searching for the one text I'm certain will help me master the advanced skills I need. The one that will prove my worth once and for all. Heart pounding as I start at every sound echoing from the main library, I scan the forbidden shelves, strangling the creeping doubt as it tries to slither into my mind. I stop myself from considering that breaking magical law always bears consequences. Stop it, I scold myself, shaking off the unwelcome thoughts. You didn't come this far just to give up now. Here, an ancient leather tome bound with iron clasps. Its title etched in spidery runes. I recognize it from Celine's lessons years ago, though she never let us touch it. The Book of the Corrupt. It contains the deep mysteries I seek, magics long banned by the council. This book holds the key. It seems to pulse with energy as if alive and brimming with ancient power. I tried to slide it from the shelf, but something holds it firmly in place. Pursing my lips, I repeat a verboten incantation, releasing the book, and it then pulls from the shelf. A tingle of power. Sorry. Cat fur. That was disgusting. Oh, goodness. I try to slide it from the shelf, but something holds it firmly in place. Pursing my lips, I repeat a verboten incantation, releasing the book, and it then pulls from the shelf, the tingle of power humming through my fingers. For a moment, I consider opening the book right then and there, but something within me warns against it. This is not the time nor place to explore its contents. I need to be safe in my own sanctuary before I dare to delve into the knowledge it contains. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe it's because you're in a forbidden area touching a forbidden book. Maybe that's why you shouldn't do this here. Why would it only occur to you now? Okay. Okay, Strawberry, I murmur to myself. Focus on the task at hand. Time to get out of here. It's a hefty brick of a thing, but it feels good in my hands, like a promise. And I carefully tuck it into my bag, the weight pulling heavily on the shoulder strap. Retracing my steps through the passage, my mind wanders to the failed assessment, the disapproving faces, and the cold gazes of Eldrick and Agatha. The thought of them judging me again sends a shiver down my spine, but I refuse to let it deter me. They don't know what I'm capable of, and soon enough they'll learn not to underestimate me. Never again, I think, determined. I won't fail again. Not this time. I know I've crossed a line. I've just stolen a restricted book from under the council's nose, but I can't let my anxieties show. I keep my gaze steady and my pace measured as I stride through the main library. Clutching my prize close, I make for the exit. Just a young witch going about her studies, nothing to see here. But inside, my thoughts race. What will I find within the pages of this arcane text? Spells and rituals so powerful, so dangerous, that the council banned us from ever seeing them centuries ago? I yearn to pore over every word and symbol and decipher every cryptic inscription. The key to unlocking my full potential lies somewhere in this book. There's so much care. This is definitely the last chapter. There's so much fur on me. I feel so itchy. Stepping outside into the cool night air, the weight of the ancient book feels even heavier. My cab awaits at the curb just as I arrange, and I slip inside, giving the driver harried instructions to my home on the south side of the city. As we pull away, I again resist the urge to open the book right here and now. Patience. I must wait until I'm safely ensconced in my sanctuary with wards raised against prying eyes. The ride passes in intense silence. My fingers drum restlessly on my knees as I watch the lights of downtown give way to darkened suburbs. The cab drops me off in the sleepy neighborhood I call home. Ramshackle Victorian homes line the hilly streets, painted in faded jewel tones, with a faded blue house sitting at the end of my block, a turret room jutting up on the south side. My sanctum from the outside world, the last gift my long-dead parents bequeathed me. I pay the driver and don't wait for change, bolting for the front door. It recognizes my magical signature and swings open at my approach. The familiar scent of lavender, amber, and rosemary envelops me as I step through the door of my modest home. The interior is a cozy, eccentric space with oriental rugs, overflowing bookshelves, and secondhand furniture. Crystals dangle in the windows on strands of fishing line, mangling to fracture even the muted moonlight into tiny rainbows. The shelves contain jars of herbs and incense and long stacks of well-worn journals and books. It's cramped but comfortable. Everything I need is here. Pass through the beaded curtain into the turret room that serves as my workshop. A round table displays my latest projects, candle making, potion brewing, and attempting new sigils. The wall is covered in charts of lunar cycles and phases. My globe of quartz, a gift from Celine, adept of my coven, sits on an antique desk. Gazing into its crystalline depths helps me focus my power during magic practice. Wasting no time, I secure the wards. A whispered incantation. It just feels so on my face and on my nose. It's fine. It'd be finer if this was actually, like, not boring. Why? I hate when... As a guilty... habiter... what am I saying? I have the, issue myself of not knowing how, like, having an idea for what I want to write, but not sure how to get the scene out. And I have a bad habit of writing out every single step in breath as if every single step in breath matters. My God. My God. My guy. Ugh. I pass through the beaded curtain into the turret room that serves as my workshop. A round table displays my latest projects, candle making, potion brewing, and attempting new sigils. The wall is covered in charts of lunar cycles and phases. My globe of quartz, I think I already read this. Wasting no time, I secure the wards, a whispered incantation and sweep of my hand to seal the threshold. Now for the book. I reverently remove it from my bag and lay it on the table. My hands tremble slightly as I caress the worn leather cover. Hush. This tome crossed oceans and centuries to reach me. What forgotten knowledge will it impart? Stealing my nerves, I carefully open it. Okay, please, you're so furry. You're so furry and loud. The pages are crammed with strange symbols and glyphs in a language I've never seen before. Heart sinking, I press my lips together as I try to figure out a new path, a way to fix this. I was so certain I would find the key to unlocking my true potential here, but if I can't read it, this powerful book is useless. Wait. No. All is not lost. There is one who can help me unravel these arcane secrets. One whose knowledge rivals that of the Witch Council itself. I'm a fool for even considering approaching her, but what other choice do I have? The council will never see past my family's flaws, and this is the only way I can rise above their prejudice and judgment. She is my only hope if I am to fully prove myself worthy. The candles gutter as I close the tome, resolve hardening. Before the next full moon rises, I will have the power and knowledge to challenge the council itself. 2. Not to be a bitch, but surely we didn't need all of that. Surely that could have been added to a later chapter as she knocks on the front door. Not to say that she needs to copy that other book with the cool beginning where the witch like bleeds on the vampire's lawn and then forces a love potion out of him or anything. But like that's snappy, that's quick, that gets to the point. It's like we are here now. This is what I'm trying to get at. Not this like meandering, overly thoughtful, every step, every word, every thought is written out. Just stare the hot vampire lady in the eyes and tell her you need her help. Get to the point, please. I'm begging you. I know you're not writing a short story, but please. That's me. In my thoughts and my preferences, in my biases. Is possibly good? Possibly. I'm willing to give it a shot because it's sapphic. And I'm gay. I'll probably give it a shot, honestly. It's probably fine. I don't know. At least there's none of that, like, dark romance toxicity. Very few people pull that off. I can be into that. But very few people write it in a satisfying way. So, yeah. This obviously hasn't changed the election results, but that is why we're here, to wallow together and to think about something else for a little while and indulge in something that makes us happy, makes me happy. Vampires. So thank you if you're here. I hope you feel a little bit better, or at least it was nice to have a break from thinking about it for a little while. I'm probably gonna do this whole first chapter reading thing again next Thanksgiving, this upcoming Thanksgiving, and there's quite a few books left to poke through. 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, about 11 others I could read. So yeah, I look forward to that. I will eventually do it, but it's not really a thing, because like I have to acquire the books before I can show them to you and read you the first chapters. But and I don't really buy books. I generally go through, I get like freebooksy.com. I'm signed up for their email blasts, their daily email blasts, and I don't always check every day, but you know, it takes time to acquire books, and I'm repeating myself. Thank you for being here. I'm going to do live on Saturday, or Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to finish up the vampire anthology we are currently reading, which is Dracula's Brood. There's like 2, I think maybe 3 stories left, and then from there we will tier rank the stories and then dabble around doing miscellaneous vampire streams for a little while, because it's nice to take a break between books. That's the future on Sundays. I do want to actually keep doing what I intended to do in these midweek streams, is like usually Wednesday, maybe Thursday, around like 6 o'clock, same time ish, when I can, is go through the Gothic novels, Gothic literature, the history of them, and to read them together, because I feel like it's enriching to our understanding of vampires and past, historical, modern, is like understanding the Gothic genre and its conventions and the history of it and things, you know. I think that's valuable, and I think in the end it will make our readings of other typical vampire stories fuller, more exciting. So that's what we're doing. We're reading Castle of Ontario, though it's been like a month. Again, I need to stop going like, ah, damn. But yeah, gonna keep doing that when I can. And I think that's it. Thank you for being here. I greatly appreciate it, especially if you made it all the way to the end. At the end of this stream, I will include all of the names of the books that we read, so you can check them out yourself if you would like. And yeah, thank you. I just parasocially almost said I love you. I don't love you. I don't know you. I don't even know if I like you. Thanks for being here. Good night.